see you again. So one topic that I find that we talk about a lot in tech circles is continuous learning. Because of the nature of technology, which evolves frequently, it is pretty important for engineers to devote some time to continuous learning. But practically speaking, right, not every engineer has the luxury of time. So let's chat through some creative ways that engineers can actually still budget some time to continuous learning, regardless of their situation.
I think that's a great topic, and it's one that I'd actually love to get some guidance from you and perspective, because depending on where people are in their life, like when I was the 20-something-year-old version of me, I had plenty of time for continuous learning because I was coding to 4 o'clock in the morning. I loved it, and constantly reading books. But I think about that continuous learning as a discipline.
Yeah.
And even as a company, like thinking about how do you incorporate continuous learning? I think that's an area that everybody can improve on. What are some thoughts that you have top of mind, whether it be at the company level or the individual level, to really make sure that that's important?
Yeah, I think, obviously for the people that have time and can devote time to doing that outside of work, then it's an easy problem to solve. But folks that don't have time, I would say, I have a few different ideas. One is by, maybe taking on projects or pairing with someone to take on a project in an area you're not well versed in, right? So by pairing with someone, of course, you're sort of actively picking up things from them as they solve the problem, or by taking on the project yourself, you're sort of forced to learn on the go, and that's actually how I learned different languages. It was just sort of being thrown into situations where I had to work with those languages or frameworks, and I had to sort of learn on the go. Another way, especially as an engineering leader, is you can sort of integrate continuous learning into your team's processes, right? So one thing that we do here at Cork is regular lunch and learns. And, in those lunch and learns, you have an engineer talking about something that they are either well-versed in or something that they just learned, right? And so that's an opportunity for other engineers on the team to soak up their knowledge and learn, this new topic, this new library, this new framework, whatever the case may be. Another thing you can do as a leader, depending on the organization and, how much time you're able to spare is allow your teams to, maybe block out an hour at the top of your day, on some cadence to dedicate to learning something new, or at the end of your day, or whatever the case may be. And then another thing that we do related to lunch and learns at Cork is we have these learning guilds that meet every other week to discuss topics around a theme. For instance, the Lander Guild, which is the functional programming guilds, they sort of rotate who facilitates the session per week. And so, on a given day, you have an engineer that has, spent a little bit of time learning a particular topic, and then they come and present it to the team, and folks can ask questions, and it's essentially a discussion. And so that gives, built-in time to learn that is not taken away from your personal time outside of work. So those are some examples that I have. And of course, there's the typical things like attending meetups or conferences as time permits.
Yeah, I like that. So I do think pair programming, and I know the consulting company, they're big pair programmers. If a company can leverage that, that's a great way for people to learn a new code base, to share in real time. A lot of times people say, the cost, because usually when you pair program, the QA needs go down dramatically, because effectively the two developers are doing that as they develop. But also I'm a big believer in desk checks, right? That's another way, is when you're learning, if you have somebody, making sure that people have the time and space to go in it. I love the idea of guilds. I think structurally companies and investing in guilds. I don't know, even sometimes, if there's book clubs are also, I think, an interesting way, is like go in, there's some new technology, or some new book. When the Phoenix Project came out, let's talk about it. What are the learnings from it? I think those make sense. So if a company wanted to invest, other than kind of starting the guild, maybe doing pair programming, desk checks, other things I could think of, sometimes is cross-functional like hackathons or competitions. So that way allows people from different practices, both engineering and outside of engineering, to come together to not just solve a technical problem, but to solve a business problem. I was at a Fortune 400 enterprise that's kind of what we had set up, is we would have something, and so there would be somebody from sales, engineering, product, and they could come together and put together a demo of an idea. And if it was selected, they would all get 3 months off of work to go build that thing. And then we'd test it in the innovation lab, right, to see what's the market receptance. So, I think different ways to kind of drive that. Anything else top of mind that you've done as a leader to kind of implement that, or you've seen in your travels?
I think that those are, some of the major points. I definitely think like things like hackathons and what you just explained really help drive innovation, right? Because here is this, cross-functional group of people getting together to, maybe solve a problem that they are personally passionate about. And, you probably don't have the normal business drivers or like a customer waiting for that feature. And so you're sort of giving them an open room to solve a problem that they're passionately invested in. I think that's a fantastic way to drive innovation.
Yeah, I agree. And continuous learning, certainly in technology, it's important because it's changing so fast. But I also think the same thing goes back to as sometimes as engineering leaders, there's other skills that maybe help you as a manager or help you promote or even help you communicate better. That continuous learning, we've talked about emotional intelligence, the concept of what's a microaggression, and like, because many people are like, I didn't know I was doing that. Well, that's typically what a microaggression often is, but all of that, there's so many ways to learn. I think that investment, and then I think, thinking about ways as leadership and as a company to make sure it's important and people have the space to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.